Welcome to the latest episode of the Wild Game Dynasty Podcast. I'm your new host, Ryan Foguth, and I'm excited to have an opportunity here to continue diving deep into the stories, strategies, and sustainability practices that define today's hunting community. Joining me today is someone who needs no introduction to longtime listeners, but deserves a proper one as we kick off this new chapter. Gary Morgan is the founder and original host of Wild Game Dynasty, the man who built this community from the ground up. Gary's a Michigan native and retired police officer who spent his life sharing his passion for the outdoors. As a professional guide, he's brought hundreds of hunters into the field, teaching not just the skills of the hunt, but the deeper values of sustainability, conservation, and self-sufficiency. He's a husband, father, and grandfather who believes in inspiring others to connect with nature and develop skills that last a lifetime. I can't think of a better way to start my journey as host other than sitting down with the person who blazed the trail. So Gary, welcome to the podcast, or should I say welcome back?
Well, Ryan, I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully I don't ramble too much because I can do that. I can make a long story out of a short story. But on that note, it's a family affair, and for me at the time, it was all about my wife and I. Kids were growing up, or they were off on their own. Maybe our youngest was in college, but I knew it would involve her, so I ran it by her. But to be very frank, I don't want to say honest, but I want to say frank is, or call it lying by omission, right?
Mm-hmm.
I knew where I wanted to have this head, in what direction, in the growth, etc. And it's probably a great idea if I'm giving somebody advice that wants to get into this, to envelop their loved ones into the brainchild, we'll call it, because they have a lot to offer, and two, if there's some buy-in on the beginning, that way being away from home is a big component of guiding.
Right, and it's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult for everybody. It really is. So everybody has to be, or should be, in on the ground floor of this thing.
It's a family affair.
Yeah. I just had nowhere I was really drawing from on the ground rules on this thing, but a lot of it's common sense, and sometimes I step on my own toes. So
awesome. And so as it became a family affair and you changed your passion of hunting into a profession.
Yes.
So how did you come about Wild Game Dynasty, like the story behind it?
Well, originally with the cabin, that's where I met you. You remember, we had some trapping ideas in mind, and
that's true.
I responded to a Craigslist posting. Oh yeah, but that was kind of the place that things kind of birthed, and so it was simple, and but it was I thought, well, what's the name here? And so the name was out in front of me. It was the lake out in front of me was East Lake. So I called myself East Lake Outfitters, which fit for a short period of time, because then there was a little confusion among people that would call that thought, oh, is that where you do all your guiding? And it was not. And I didn't want that name to reflect the limitations. And so then, we kicked around. My wife and I both talked about it, and I reached out to some friends and gave it a pretty good thought, and we came up with Wild Game Dynasty.
I like it. And that's when I met you. So that was 10 years ago. Yeah. I think. Yeah. About 10 years ago. And it was East Lake Outfitters.
Yes. Yeah. So I had a friend of mine that is an attorney, and he's handled a lot of what Becky and I, my wife and I's personal affairs, estate planning, etc., whatever the documents that needed to reflect on. So I reached out to him and said, hey, you hunt and fish. He said, Gary, I think what we need to do, though, is trademark your logo and register you as an LLC. And he took care of all that, and that was really critically important as well. It didn't cost me a bundle of money. What it did is it really told me that, hey, this thing spawned from an idea, and it has ramifications. And I don't want the bad ones. I want the good ones. And there's no way to, predict everything, but we're going to put some safeguards in place so that at least what I'm doing is kosher and all good, and that I'm not misrepresenting myself or finding out that someone stole my logo and I can't do anything about it.
Right. And as you started, has it grown to a point where you had envisioned, or was it hard to get it started?
It was very hard to envision
Mm-hmm.
where it went, but there was a time where it was growing faster than I wanted it to.
Okay.
But it wasn't like it was, dropping bucket loads of money in my bank account. It wasn't
Right.
that necessarily. It was just, I don't know that I was ready for what was to happen.
Okay.
And so, and I don't know that all of us in life, whether it's, this business or that business, if growth is wonderful, but sometimes it, it poses some real challenges in front of us. So it did, and I tried to, and I think I did roll with it pretty decent. But again, my best asset in our house is my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just didn't include her in on that. Why? Not hiding anything. It's just my wife doesn't hunt, fishes a little bit. Now that's changed since, but you sometimes we shortchange the knowledge that people can bring to the table. That just because I don't downhill ski doesn't mean that I can't offer my perspective on it, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that was a learning curve, and that's changed since. And so positively, I've got some neat changes that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's become more of an enjoyable.
yeah,
experience.
absolutely. So, if I explain something to her or even to my kids, they have a pretty good understanding what I'm talking about versus the proverbial eye roll.
Mm-hmm.
So,
All right.
yeah.
So in Michigan, since it's Michigan-based, what makes, in your opinion, Michigan a unique hunting destination compared to other states?
Well, I'm going to kind of start, right out of a running spot, we'll call it. I remember I talked to a gentleman that owns a archery shop, and have high regard for this guy, still do, and because he's moved on from that archery shop that he was part owner of, and he sees things for what they are. He's a very good visionary person. He says, "Morgan, you got to be kidding me. You're going to be guiding whitetail deer in the UP?"
I
said,
can understand that.
yeah. I said, well, yeah. I said, why don't you be the first customer?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I wouldn't mind, but I want to see some deer. Well, I kind of knew that there's pockets of deer.
Mm-hmm.
And those pockets of deer can be plentiful. And so the enjoyment was there. But that's kind of, that thing with Michigan
Mm-hmm.
is we have some resources here that no other state can even come close to. Not even close. Say, well, we have a ton of deer. Yep. Well, there's some states that have more, a couple, but they're different than us. And they say, well, okay, so we're not the, and there could be some management improvements on our whitetail deer herd, but gee whiz, we're surrounded by 5 Great Lakes, and we have more than 10,000 lakes too. So
Mm-hmm.
There's so much here. There's so much right in our back door. Now, that's kind of a challenge because people that, I just had a bear hunting inquiry on our contact page, and I've been going back and forth with him. And I think every time he throws a question or 2 or 3 at me, that that I think it makes him think in a total different direction, where now he's got 10 questions.
Right.
And but that's the thing that really I think sets Michigan apart is we may not be in first place for everything,
Right.
but it's kind of like my buddy Rod Little, who's one of the finest turkey callers, that's on this planet. He was a 9-time state turkey calling champ, actually probably darn near won it 12 years in a row. But anyways, and he says, I said, how'd you get first place? How did you finally? He says, I was always coming in like 3rd or 4th because I wanted to perfect every call. He says, that's impossible. He says, but I had one of the best turkey calling guys in the country that put his arm around me, in the bar having a couple of drinks, but it was just good conversation. He says, he gave me the best advice. He says, come in second place on all these different aspects of turkey calling. There'll be the yelp, the chirp, different things, and the gobble, the different things, and the kiki run. And he says, so you come in second place, but you're not in first place. I beat myself up all the time when I wasn't getting first place.
Right. Yeah.
And second place got me a first place 9 times.
Oh, wow.
So it blended together. And he said, that's kind of Michigan. We may not be the best place to fly fish, but doggone it, we got some beautiful streams and lakes that we can do that. We got a viable deer herd. We have a viable elk herd that's huntable. Trapping is unbelievable, and on and on. Do we have pronghorns? No. I might go pronghorn hunting someplace else, but, gee whiz,
And I feel like the whitetail is a different culture, Midwest, hardy culture of chasing whitetails.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And something very addicting about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though, like you said, in the UP, they're kind of getting sparse, and where we're at, the low deer density, but it's deer camp.
Yeah.
It's just something you whether you see a deer or not. It's more or less for the experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so true. If it's just all about putting a tag on an animal, then we're missing out on so much more. And I think most people understand it's far greater than that.
I totally agree. And as far guiding goes, what species are you guiding?
Well, I thought I had to do a little bit of everything, and that was one of my, where I stubbed my toe in life type thing. But I realized that, hey, perfect, or at least do really well, do your best at what you can. So we focus on turkey in the springtime.
Okay.
Black bear in that September time frame, and then white-tailed deer in that October, November, even part of December for muzzleloading. And really that keeps us, extremely busy, almost sometimes busier than I, sometimes really wish I wasn't at times. Need more time with the family, grandkids now. But at the same time, there's the elusive bobcat, which is, we're seeing that type of weather right now because here we are, late December, early January, and there's that opportunity. So, you can kind of offer all of a sudden some bobcat hunts, which we've been doing. That has some challenges that I'm not used to. 44 inches of snow in the UP last year made it pretty tough for our hunters that forgot their snowshoes to bring to camp to traverse, to their spot, a third of a mile, half mile back in. But gee whiz, out of 4 guys, 3 out of 4 are coming back, and they didn't put a tag on a cat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so obviously they had a great time.
So good return customers.
You just touched on a new thing, or new question, and that's key. That's key. Now that's hard to do in bear season. But we're finding our third hunt. Well, matter of fact, last year and the year before last, every one of our hunters in the third hunt. Yeah, I'm pretty sure of it. Every one of our hunters are in the third hunt. So there have been 5 to 7 hunters in the third hunt one year, and that many in the year before. Were all return clients.
Wow.
Most of them had not put a tag on a black bear.
I mean, that third hunt is difficult.
It
for sure.
really is. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that we're targeting just black bears, but we really put a focus on, a little bit better quality black bear. That has to start with the hunter, though. That has to be something that the hunter realizes that just because I saw this 130-pound black bear all by itself doesn't mean that I have to harvest it.
Right.
Yeah. So we really spent, guy calls and says, hey, I'm so-and-so, you Gary, yep, what do you got going? Might be interested in bear hunting, might be interested in bobcat, whatever. We're going to probably have a 40-minute conversation with that person twice before they book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I want to make sure that I'm the right person for them and they're the right person for us. If not, I can recommend some, or they need to reach out to and find that person And I'm proud to say we've turned some people down for that reason, because at least we know we're being, very honest and upfront about, what we do and what, as long as we know what their expectations are.
Okay.
Can it fall within our parameters? If it can, great. If not, time to move on.
So what would your philosophy be interacting with, say, an experienced hunter versus first-timers? How would you handle that as a guide?
Well, let me just kind of start from behind the finish line a little bit further even, and say some of our best hunters, and I'm not just saying that because I'm married to one of them, but some of our best hunters really are the gals.
Mm-hmm.
You tell them what they need to expect, what they need to do for anticipated successes, et cetera, et cetera. If they don't do everything to a T, I'd be surprised. So the guys, it's not that a lot of them can and will, but there's a certain larger segment of that population that the guys that they have some experience hunting whitetails, and they're going to bring that to our whitetail camp, but they've never hunted in the UP before, so they need to really listen, but some of them don't. So their successes can be hinged on predisposed ideas of how they're going to conduct themselves. And don't guide the guide.
Right.
Listen to the guide. He is going to try everything he can to put that species in front of you, that one that should be a shooter. But that's so. We get people that head home, not many, without having tagged something. But it doesn't have to be the Grinch that stole Christmas, we'll say.
Right. Hopefully it ends with a good experience, whether you're successful or unsuccessful.
Absolutely.
A trip to the UP hunting is something to be remembered.
Yeah, I tell you, hunting at the UP, I've noticed something right out of the chute, and it did it to me. My first, I've hunted, oh my goodness, my brother, my dad, and I, we were hunting back in the late 80s, and that was when the deer population in the UP was pretty darn strong.
It was, yeah,
if you
almost peak.
Yep, if you would see 5, 6, 7 animals in a day, that was actually a pretty good show. You'd see 3 or 4, but if you'd let them walk by day 2 or 3, you were probably putting a tag on something you'd be proud to take to your taxidermist.
Right.
It can be that way, but anyways, just you're hiring a guide, or are you just paying a trespass fee to go and hunt something?
Right. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. So if you're paying the trespass fee, I'm not your guide. And I'm probably going to say you need to find somebody that'll let you walk on their property.
Okay. And now, say let's do a successful hunt scenario. Mm-hmm. How would a typical guide experience go with you from day one? Yep.
Good question. Day before, even 2 days before, we like that person to show up the day before, and usually not late in the day. If they show up at, say, 10:30, 11, have lunch, integrate themselves with us, do a little meet and greet. If everybody shows up within 2 or 3 hours of each other, they get to meet who they're going to be spending time at camp. Our camp is, I'm not saying it's 5-star, but it's pretty darn nice, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, people that step in the facility and say, wow. But that's, we're blessed to have the access to that. So then we talk about some housekeeping rules, and a lot of it's about what the expectations can be out in the woods, out in their spots that we set up for them, and very few people that hunt with us will end up in an elevated tree stand, even if it's all our stands are going to be ladder stands. Some will be 2-man stands, but accommodate just that one hunter. We'd really discourage it just because it's got its challenges that, people that come up there say, man, oh man, that for some reason we're only 3 degrees cooler than what it is downstate where I live. I was looking on my phone, but It just seems like it's like 10 degrees colder.
Mm-hmm.
And and then they are getting ready to kind of call it an evening. Maybe it's 4:00 in the afternoon on a whitetail hunt in late November, and all of a sudden they hear not the coyotes, but the wolves howling, and they're probably a third of a mile,
Wow.
Not 2 miles,
Fairly close.
Yeah, I mean, you give them 5 minutes, they'll be on your doorstep at your blind if they wanted to. So they're going to have a hard time. So what does that do? Well, it makes their mind go in 6 different directions, and we notice that about 50% of our bear hunters will leave early.
Oh, wow.
And they have just about ruined their hunt. If they haven't seen and pulled the trigger on a respectable black bear already before that evening, that's going to be their mantra: leave early. They don't want to. They're not going to admit it that they did. But sometimes we leave cameras in a tree not to catch them doing that, but we want to see what types of quality of animals a bear are still doing. And so if we see a bear on trail camera and I get the link sent to me and I'm looking at that and say, why isn't Joe Schmo shooting that bear? It's still standing there. It's taken about 3 pictures.
Right.
And all of a sudden I look in the driveway and here comes Joe Schmo up the driveway and it's dark, but that bear now he's been there for 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That tells me that right out of the chute, he probably left about 4 or 5 minutes too early.
Okay.
But that's such a game changer.
Is it pretty common?
I would say it almost half.
Wow.
But boy,
that's more than I would have thought.
Yeah. And we really hammer them in that meet and greet.
Okay.
To a point that I think I berate them a little bit.
Okay.
But I don't care, because if I got to be a little bit of, get in their face, I want them to have a hell of a hunt.
Right.
Yeah. And part of having a hell of a hunt is understanding the ground rules of, the UP.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And what would you say is your most rewarding part of guiding that hunt?
Getting to share in the excitement and the actual event that person has or is experiencing when they do put a tag on a bear. I mean, having them, or a deer, or a turkey, but having them text me or call me, Gary, I got a bear down. Okay. Then we have a conversation. Mm-hmm. I said, how do you know he's down? I heard the death moan. Oh my God, I've never heard that before. That is, you're right. That thing is really, it's like, okay. And then, so that begins. And then we go out there and they're shaking like a leaf, but they're so excited. They have a smile on their face. They don't know where to smile, maybe a little bit of cry. I don't know, or just what they don't know what to do. But what's cool is me and a couple other guides are there. So there's going to be 4 of us probably to track that bear, get to it, and field dress it, and get it out, and clean it up. And,
that's when all the work starts.
Oh, yeah. And so that's his, he's got his trophy. He's got and he's going to have a freezer full of meat.
Absolutely. And what would you say, as far as guiding in Michigan, what are the biggest challenges that you face?
Lower Peninsula, if you're not on private land, it's going to be tough.
Okay.
There's a lot of public land, and a lot of public land that is pretty vast. It's amazing. You go out into the darkest swamp, and at dark, all of a sudden you see a guy with a light. He had the same idea you do. So with bear hunting, it's hard to find enough spots on private lands, and we don't, because they have to be spread out so much, the bear baits. UP is so much different than that. But at the same time, I know that we've had some extremely successful hunts in the Red Oak unit. But it's hard to do both because the seasons do overlap here in the Lower Peninsula and there in the Upper Peninsula. You can't be at 2 places at once.
Or I was thinking that. So how do you do that? Is it one year you might only focus on the Red Oak, or?
I dropped Red Oak off our radar, and I entrusted my spots, even though I don't own them because they're on public land. So I entrusted them to a friend of mine, and he's had some successes with them. I knew he would because he's such a great guide, so an outfitter.
Okay.
But if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in. And it's hard to go all in two different locations and expect positive results
Right.
when you're not at either location, or you're in between them, or you're at one but not the other. Bad things can happen. People can get turned around coming out. I say turned around. It's a precursor to getting lost.
Right.
And if we don't find them right away, they're probably going to get lost. So we've had a couple of those, and it's it is what it is. We've had it with people that are really good woodsmen, but things happen.
So what advice would you give someone looking to hire a guide for the first time?
Check for some references. Ask that person some valuable questions, some that we just talked about, and make sure that you're a good fit for them and they feel likewise. And if make sure that they're providing answers that are valuable to your questions, and then ask for references that you can call upon, and say, I would say, ask that person, if it's a guy or a gal, doesn't matter, but if your outfitter can give you last year's give me 5 people that hunted with you last year.
Okay.
And if I got 5, give me 2 to 3 that put a tag on whatever you're hunting, and give me the ones that did not.
Okay.
Because it's called hunting, so you don't always tag out.
And you are guiding on public land.
Yeah.
Too. So this isn't private. This is.
Yes.
It can be difficult at times.
Yeah, we've taken some precautions in the UP, and it's worked most of the time. But again, it's open to the public.
Public, right?
Yeah. But if we do our homework, and that begins as soon as the snow melts, before the black flies hatch. So sometime in early May, we're already looking for 2 or 3 brand new bear hunting spots that we can jam into our schedule.
Okay. And I've always felt, hunters are best conservationists as long as we're practicing ethical standards.
Absolutely.
How do you balance that, running a business and still practicing conservation and ethical practices?
Is it a challenge? It shouldn't be, but sometimes it just inherently is.
Right.
So, leave the woods, leave the outdoors better than you found it. And as an example, I have to get my permit to guide on federal forest through the Forest Service, and then they inspect my spots afterwards. And I know what they're looking for, but every once in a while I'll forget. Maybe I forgot to pull the ribbons off, a couple 100 yards, and I'll get a phone call. And
okay.
And it's not that they're not happy; they're just here to remind me. But if I'm that guy that continually violates, some rules, and I'm probably not going to get my license renewed. I mean, I've never had that concern or been accused of that, but those are some of the basic things.
Okay. And so what role do you see guides? And because you're not the only guide out there.
Right.
Guides and outfitters, what role do they play in the wildlife population and conservation in Michigan?
Very good question. So the average hunter that only can afford about a week's vacation, if that, and they know they can't afford to run up to the UP 4 or 5 times to bait that bear, and only to run up there on the first day of season and find that maybe somebody is, 300 yards away doing the same thing. And that's what the role of the guide is to assure that your spot is meets your or even exceeds your expectations, and that you're going to be given an opportunity to fill that tag, hopefully an opportunity. And then the guide should have tools to share with you. One of them would be pictures maybe on a cell camera, a regular camera, game camera, that should highlight what their expectations could be.
Okay.
Sitting in that particular spot or spots, should have a couple, 3 spots, backups.
And you might have hit on this earlier, but would you say the biggest mistake hunters make is leaving early?
In some ways, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I say on the bear front for sure, because the hunters get back into the woods, and that's, it's an active time frame in the woods in that September time frame.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of activity among the critters, wolf activity, bear activity. So a little bit of bobcat, but a lot of coyote. It's a lot of predator activity, and it can be a little unnerving if a person lets them, interpret it that way. But that's just, man, what a time to be in the woods. Oh my gosh, to have that experience. But I've had witnessed some funny behaviors from hunters,
Right.
running into some of this stuff. Just it's kind of funny, but there's always stories to be told. And
Right.
not all of them are positive, but most of them are funny, thankfully.
Right. Yeah, that's a good thing. Have you seen the difference in the UP from when you started guiding up there, or even hunting? Just what has changed as far as animal and wildlife and landscape?
We've kind of focused where we're at. Our area that is afforded to us from the Forest Service, we have to stay in those boundaries, but it's a big boundary for bear. And I would say the deer population is changed a fair amount, but at the same time, it's like John Ozaga once told me, geez, if you're having a hard time seeing deer over here, you may want to go 5, 6, 7, 8 miles down the road type thing. So we have to morph with that. We have to understand that just because you build it, they're not coming type thing.
Right.
Those deer, you could put the most fabulous sugar beet pile or whatever it is, and if they don't want to die, and they have a suspicion that, that they don't, especially the quality bucks, we'll say, the upper echelon, they're not going to come to your bait, or it's going to be after dark. You could do whatever you want, and it can be very frustrating. So, there's a lot to be had up there. Gee whiz. In that one area, guy could grouse hunt, sharp-tail hunt, and timberdoodle hunt if the seasons are all lined up to be at the same time, which there is a smaller time frame, and probably have at least one of those each in their game pouch.
Right.
And I see that while I'm going down that 1-2 track leading back into two of my best bear bait spots. And I see some of the same guys. There's always out-of-staters. And I said to the one guy from Kentucky, I said, how in the heck is it that you guys, well, there's that one guy, if you ever run into him, and he explained who it was. I thought, yeah, I have run into him. He's got his Filson clothes on. He's got a couple Britneys. He's old-timer, just a neat guy. I seen him pick up his dog dish because he didn't get his thirst quenched, and he didn't want to just dump it. And so he took a swallow out of his dog dish because he was thirsty. But he was a neat guy.
Yeah.
And so
that's one thing I have noticed by our deer camp on the eastern side of the UP. A lot of grouse hunters.
Yes.
A lot of grouse hunters.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I think Michigan knows it, but doesn't know it. How good of a grouse population the UP has, and even really in the northern lower. But it's. I think I'd like to keep it right where it's at. As far as you let too many cats out of the bag, but
right.
But not everybody's going to go grouse hunting because usually a good dog's in the mix of it. Not everybody has access to that.
Absolutely. So I would say, before we wrap it up, or if there's anything else you want to add, but I just want to ask, what do you see the outfitting industry and hunting/conservation in Michigan headed in, say, the next 5 to 10 years?
Very good question. I hope that it kind of hums along and morphs into whatever it does, but in the same manner it has been for the last 20 years. If an improvement can be undertaken, then let's undertake it. Let's stop whining about it and just do it. And we have a lot of hunters that try really hard to be some of the best conservationists And but somebody needs to be called out for something that they just really screwed up on, and maybe hey, we don't have to, you can maybe call upon them if you witness something and say, hey, that's not our best behavior. Come on. And sometimes we have to do that to ourselves, look in a mirror. And that's okay. That's a reflection. And if we want to know where we're heading, sometimes we got to look back where we just came from. And if we're happy with our behavior then continue in that. And have faith that the DNR can do a good job. And remember we talked about what makes Michigan unique? I guess I would not want to be the director of the DNR for the state of Michigan because you have so many micro ecosystems that are so different from each other and hard to manage, hard to put programs in place that are working. Or you thought that was a good program, but it fell flat on its face, and the public's now laughing at you or giving you bad or lousy feedback. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. You're still getting a paycheck. We're asking you to improve upon that. And that's where I think, as a group of managers and conservationists, we're all in this together.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, we got to do this together and improve the process.
That is, I think, probably one of the most difficult parts is the public opinion and not and the DNR's opinions.
Yeah.
They're very different, and giving and pushing back and forth, it's little is ever done.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's been that way since we had conservation early 1900s.
Absolutely.
And it's something that we battle, and I think we'll continue to.
Yeah.
As we make slow progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our ladies and gentlemen that wear the DNR patches on their attire that work for the Department of Natural Resources, I think by far and large most of them are really trying really hard. And they have to live by the same rules that we all have to live by. And they may or may not agree with it, and that's okay. We don't have to agree with everything. We just, if we can come up with a consensus and move along and, be a part of the solving problems versus creating them.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to add to the mix or wrap it up?
Well, there's always a bunch of stories, and I share that at times. Funny stories.
Okay.
But versus me rambling on, because my wife is a very good writer, very gifted writer. She's wrote some short stories about a guy that helps me in camp, and he's gonna, I'm sure, unless he has had enough of me. But look on wildgamedynasty.com and look at the blog, and look at the last 15 or 20 articles. Look at all 375 or 400 of them. There's a ton of stuff on there, and some of it's just educational in a way, but most of it's got at least a smirk, if not a outward laugh about somebody. Read the ones on Ross, my guy Ross.
Okay.
They're funny, and yes, they're true, and they're not embellished.
Okay.
You just can't make stuff like that up.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a fantastic time talking with you, and I'm looking forward to hopefully hearing about a successful bobcat hunt.
Absolutely, Ryan. I appreciate you reaching out, because we're taking we're doing 180 on this.
We are. Yep.
Yeah. So I've not been on this end of the podcast before, and now I finding myself there. I'm your first person?
You are the first.
Yeah. Everybody's got to have a guinea pig. So
of Wild Game Dynasty Podcast, I guess 2.0.
All right.
So
yeah. You and your wife Nicole will have a great time doing this. I'm sure of it.
We're looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, you guys have the skill set like no tomorrow to be part of this, and I appreciate that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, and hey, we're gonna keep in touch.
All right. Take care.
Yeah. You too.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. We appreciate your time. Please like and subscribe. We hope you tune in to our next episode. I'm Ryan, your host. Join us every other Tuesday for our next Wild Game Dynasty podcast.
This podcast is brought to you by Wild Game Dynasty, a professional hunting outfitter and guide service. If you're looking for a world-class adventure in Michigan's premier outdoors, look no further. Book your guided hunt now with Gary Morgan at wildgamedynasty.com.